Yo, how's it going everybody? It's me, Arctic, the 12th of 2 Leakinger, and in today's video we're going to be going over a complete weapons tier list for Yelan. This video is going to be based on the weapons that I think are going to focus best on her kit, so it's not necessarily based on damage, it's more so based on how usable they are on the kit. Therefore, the exact order of these weapons is not going to matter too much, but I am going to have these in certain categories. First, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'm trying to get to 11,000 subscribers. We do all sorts of early Genshin Impact content on here, ranging from Genshin Impact leak news to early character build guides. The first thing I'm actually going to do before we start getting into the meat and potatoes of this video is I'm going to dump all of these attack percent weapons and these physical attack damage weapons into the garbage category because we're not going to use them. Yelan's damage only comes from her maximum HP, so attack percent is not going to be useful on her whatsoever. And what this also means is that the 3-star weapons are going to potentially be viable as well. So first up, the Messenger Bow. So this one gives you some crit damage on its base stats, and it also gives you a passive that whenever you hit like weak points, it's going to give a attack percent based big hit. And so I am going to put this in the C tier just because it's going to be honestly not really that great of an option to use. This bow right here is the Sharpshooter's Oath, and what this one does is it gives you crit damage as a substat, and its passive is going to increase your damage on weak points of enemies. A thing to keep in mind is that Yelan's special charge attack might not actually do precision damage, so what that means is that it might not even be able to hit weak spots with its damage, which could actually make this weapon a lot worse. But overall, it does have a pretty good amount of crit damage, so I'm going to put this in the adequate place. Slingshot is a pretty good option to use. It comes with crit rate as a substat, and once again, the base attack doesn't matter at all, so you're going to basically be trading up for this crit rate on here. And then the passive on this is nice too if you are going to be doing some close quarters charge attack damage, because if your arrow doesn't have time to fly, it's going to be doing a bunch of increased damage, so could be pretty good. I'm also going to put this in adequate slot. The Raven Bow is not really that great just because it comes with Elemental Mastery as a substat, and I think it increases your damage versus Pyro enemies or Hydro enemies, which it could potentially be usable on a Yelan vape build, but I don't really see it being used, so I'm going to put it in the Copium tier. Out of the 3 stars, we have the Recurve Bow, and this one actually does have an HP substat, so this is the only weapon that actually has an HP substat. So automatically that makes it relatively valuable for Yelan. I wouldn't necessarily say that is gonna be the best option, but it is something to keep in mind, and so I'm gonna actually put this in the great category just because it is a pretty great weapon to have for that extra HP increase. Now getting into the usable 4-star options, so starting off with the Blackcliff Bow, this one is going to be relatively standard, I would say. Its substat is crit damage, so you're going to get 33% crit damage from it, but its passive is focused around attack percent, and I don't think it's really going to be that great, but I'm going to still keep it in the basic section just because crit damage is going to be an adequate stat to have. Sacrificial Bow, now this one is definitely one of Yelan's best in slot weapons, just because it's going to be able to actually reset her elemental skill cooldown, and it also has some pretty good substats being energy recharge. This one I just think is going to be an overall great weapon on her, so I'm going to put this in the best options category. The Stringless is another one of these weapons that I'm going to put in the best option slot, and that's basically because this weapon gives you a lot of damage on your elemental skill and elemental burst, so it's very good for a sub DPS role. And then also its Elemental Mastery substat is going to factor in if you are running her as a support for a Hu Tao, something like that. So I definitely think this is going to be one of her best options right here. And I think at R5 this one does basically the same amount of DPS as a R1 of her special 5-star weapon. The Viridescent Hunt Bow, this one comes with crit rate as its substat, but then its passive is also going to do some ad grouping that is based on attack, but I think the just utility of it ad grouping is going to be very valuable. So I'm going to put this one into the adequate category just because it is still going to be basically the same stats as a Slingshot would, except that their passives are just slightly different pretty much. Is the Favonius Warbow, and now this one comes with a large, and I mean a large amount of energy recharge, so it's going to be perfect for your Emblem of Severed Fate builds. This gives you 60 points of energy recharge, plus its passive is also going to give you some energy based on your critting, and overall it's going to be a very solid option. And so I'll put it in the great options category, and that's just because I don't think it's going to be quite as crazy in terms of damage versus a Stringless or a Sacrificial Bow. The Windbloom Ode, this one comes with Elemental Mastery as its substat, boosts your attack with its passive, So really, I'm going to put this in the basic category along with the Blackcliff, just because it's pretty much just a base stat stick, and it's not really that great of a base stat stick if you have some of these better options, I would say. The Polar Star is one of the 5-star options, and this one comes with crit rate as a substat. It's like 33%, so that's honestly pretty close to the Slingshot and Viridescent Hunt. But the passive on this is going to boost like your elemental damage by like 12%, I think. And then the rest of it is focused on attack, so it's not really going to factor in for Yelan. But I'm going to put this in the adequate section just because it's kind of in that same category of like these 3 weapons right here, the Viridescent Hunt, Slingshot, and Polar Star. The Thundering Pulse is going to be an okay option, I would say. Its passive isn't really going to help you out too much just because it's mainly focused on normal damage and attack percent. But its crit damage base stat is going to be pretty good. It goes like 66%, and that is lower than Yelan's signature weapon. So it's pretty much just a base stat stick, and we're going to put this in the great options just because it's got a large amount of crit damage, more than pretty much any of these other options currently in the game. Right now, while we're thinking about it, this is actually a placeholder, I think, for Yelan's signature weapon, and that one is going to come with like 88% crit damage. It's also going to come with a passive that boosts like your HP out, so it's very, very good on Yelan, and then it also boosts like your overall damage by like 20%, I think. So this one's definitely a best in slot option, so we're going to put that up here in the best options. Not least, the Elegy of the End. This one comes with like energy recharge as a substat. Its passive is also going to give you some good benefits for your whole team, and Yelan should be able to trigger this relatively easily, especially if you are fighting like multiple opponents. I think it's going to work out pretty decently. Pretty solid for like just general builds, I would say. I'm going to put this in the best option just because the extra passive like bonuses are going to be good for your overall team DPS, plus it has a good amount of that energy recharge. It's slightly less, I think, than the Favonius Warbow, but it's got a better passive, so I'm going to put it in the best option. So really these 4 are going to be probably your best shots at going for weapons that are going to be good on here. That's about it for the video. A like down below is very much appreciated. It helps out with the algorithm quite a bit. I am going to be doing one of these for Kuki Shinobu, and then I've got a few other videos planned for them before they actually drop once. Anyway, it's been me, Arctic. I will see you in the next one. Farewell.